cool. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing, Ryan?
Yeah, good. Recovered from last night.
Yeah, just about. It was pretty bad at half time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Depressing stuff, but yeah, all's well that ends well, I suppose. But yeah, it was actually a trek getting home as well. But I was freezing last night. I actually ended up in McDonald's, and they basically got no vegan food, so I just got 3 portions of medium chips.
burgers without the burger.
Oh no, yeah. There's nothing. So yeah, they're not doing that Mac plan. But yeah, how did you feel about the game then last night overall?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it is one of those, I don't know, those cliches of a game of two halves and all that shit. Like I watched the highlights when I got home about 10 times on YouTube, listening to Robbie Savage going crazy and everything.
The highlights were like 9.5 minutes as well, so that's like an event-packed game. Most highlights are like 4 minutes.
I think when you watch it at the match, like the weird thing was when we were watching it at the game, it felt like we were just shit, especially in the first half. Then when I watched the highlights, United had so many chances in the first half that if you were to watch the highlights, you wouldn't think it was such a shit performance. You'd think United were just unlucky and kept having chance after chance after chance, and eventually they'd score. But being at the game, especially for the first half, it just felt so flat. It didn't feel right whatsoever. Like I didn't feel like United were going to score, even though they had so many chances.
Do you feel like the knives are being sharpened at 2-0?
Yeah, in the ground, like we were saying it yesterday. The only thing I can think is close to that is when we were a couple of seasons ago when we watched United against Newcastle, and someone had leaked a story in the Mail or the Mirror or something that day, saying that United were going to sack Jose regardless of the result. And then United went 2-0 down. We
were 2-0 down at half time, I think.
Exactly, yeah. And it felt then like, oh, this is it. This is over. He's gone. Like he's finished. And then United came back and won 3-2. But
you told me after that game that Sanchez was going to be brilliant after that point. Remember?
Remember, we like, about a lot of
Sanchez. He's going to be. That's it now. He's going to be like back on it.
Yeah, it did feel like that a bit yesterday. But I just couldn't at half time. I just couldn't see a way that United were going to get back into it. It didn't seem like anything was getting created at the match. I just couldn't see how it was going to happen. Ronaldo looked like he wouldn't. He's not going to chase anything. Ronaldo, he's just going to wait and get a chance. But I don't know. We kept saying that Cavani needed to come on and things needed to change. But yeah, and then the second half, the second half was the second half. So yeah. Went from feeling like utter shit to walking home in a good mood.
Yeah. It was a turnaround. It feels a bit uneasy though, doesn't it? When people are booing the team, because obviously at half time they booed the team, and it feels like, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't like when the fans turn on Solskjaer, because fundamentally, like in the stadium, I feel like there's a lot of people that believe a certain narrative about Solskjaer.
Yeah,
that's a bit nonsensical. I went to the toilet, and you hear like kind of like very tabloid opinions, and it's a bit disappointing. You kind of expect more from United fans, but then obviously people read the tabloids and come out with all this guff.
I think a lot of the problem is with this, especially with social media and with TalkSport and 5 Live and all, like you become a bit of a victim of a narrative, and people start believing that narrative. And unfortunately for Ollie, I think that people have they've got this idea of Ollie, this opinion of Ollie, and I don't know what he can do to stop people having that opinion, because it seems
probably win the league.
It seems that whenever anything good happens and positive results are coming out and the team look good on the pitch and all the, like, people don't really say much, and then as soon as he makes a cock up or United lose, then that thing typifies what Ollie is all about. Like you see it all the time when United have a bad performance, and the pundits are all going, these mistakes in this game, for me, they embody what Solskjaer is. These mistakes are what Solskjaer is all about. And all that says is that this person has a particular opinion of Ollie, and they just wait and wait and wait for something to happen to
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
to confirm those opinions, and all the good things that contradict those opinions they overlook. Like why do the cock-ups embody Ollie and not beating City 3 times or beating PSG twice? Why don't they embody Ollie? But it seems that whenever he makes a cock-up,
absolutely. Even Fergie had it. Like when we had Cleverson and Jemba, there were people saying, "Oh, he's lost it."
Yeah.
And it's like after everything he did, the people even turned on Fergie, and it's like people have got short memories, and they also don't remember how dysfunctional the squad was. Like the squad had people like Fellaini and Smalling in, and now we've got Varane and Ronaldo. So the squad, regardless of whether Ollie stays or not, has been upgraded considerably. The football's much better to watch. And I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm not even saying that Ollie is the man to take us back to the top. But like the job he's done is a fantastic job. And actually, if you work it out on the back of a fag packet, I bet you United's wage bill is lower than it was when he took over, because he's jettisoned about probably £2 million a week worth of wages. Sanchez being about 300, 400 grand of it. But you're talking about players like Rojo, players like Smalling, so like Fellaini would have been on 160 grand a week, and obviously he's replaced them with other players. But like players like Bruno and Maguire wouldn't be on like huge wages. People forget Lukaku would have been on 300 grand a week, and he was replaced by Greenwood, who's probably on 50, 60 grand a week. So on a budgeting basis, like net in terms of wages, the wage bill's gone down. And I actually think that that's true. I remember looking at this, and I think the turnover's gone down, but the wages as a proportion of turnover has also gone down. So the wage bill must have gone down. And actually, although fans at the stadium don't look at stuff like that, it means that, like, in a way, he's a more efficient manager, because, he's getting more out of those players. And also, it kind of annoys me, the whole Van der Beek thing. It's like, oh, why did Ollie buy him? But if Ollie bought Van der Beek, he also bought Bruno. He's also bought the most creative attacking midfielder in Europe for £35 million. So on the one hand, it's like you say, we're losing, it's Ollie's tactics. When we win, it's Ronaldo's brilliance. So he gets no credit for anything. So it's like, you've got to be more balanced about that.
Yeah, exactly. You see it everywhere. You see it everywhere when United do well, or even when United have even the performances against Newcastle and Leeds. Whenever these results go well, you have the narrative that there's no real tactics, and it's all just down to individual brilliance.
Yeah.
But yet when we lose, they're not down to individual mistakes. They're down to Ollie's bad coaching. So
yeah, exactly.
You're not. You're going to point. You can point at the individuals and not the coaching when we do well, but then you point at the coaching and not the individuals when we do bad. It's just agenda 101 and a lot of.
Yeah. It's guff. Do you think a lot of United fans? I mean, I did a video about this, but do you think a lot of United fans want United to lose so Ollie goes?
Well, if you went on Twitter, that's everywhere. Like, you have people, with emojis of fingers being crossed. I saw some guy, one of those guys that used to work for the United Stand. He put a tweet out when people were talking about Salah being one of the best players in the world, or is he the best player in the world? And this guy was like, hopefully he can finish the job against United at the weekend, and Ollie will go. Like, imagine wanting Liverpool to beat United.
Yeah.
Just so you can be proven right about a manager.
Yeah.
Strange guy.
It's awful because the whole narrative doesn't take into account even like with Lukaku at the start of the season. It was like United have made a grave error selling Lukaku, and now that he's not scored for a few games, that doesn't come up. It seems to be any excuse to say, oh, Ollie's made such an error there. Van der Beek, like, also Van der Beek's stock has risen by him not being in the team. It's almost like Diego Dallo is now like the best right back in the world. Van der Beek's it's just like how to be a popular player with these people is don't play.
I think the attraction to Van der Beek is less about Van der Beek's ability and more as the opportunity to use him as a stick to beat Ollie with.
Well, do you know what, man? Like last night, right? We have criticised Fred. We've been in the pub. we've been pulling our hair out, but you can't say that Fred played really well last night.
Yeah, he was good. He was good
Fred,
last night.
He was everywhere. He almost scored. He was blocking shots. His energy. He was pressing. Like you can't say that like he doesn't give everything. And evidently he lacks technical ability. He lacks passing ability. But as a runner, if you put someone next to him that can pass, he'd be probably a really good midfielder. If you put someone like a Verratti next to him and you didn't have McTominay who was injured or whatever, like you would see an improvement in it. And I feel like there is, like, people say, oh, Fred's woeful. Yeah, he's woeful in terms of like winning the league, but as a squad player with a better first team, he'd be a good player. And there's just not that recognition,
I think the issue with Fred, I think, is like he played well last night, and especially when he gets partnered with McTominay, there are games when he does put in a 7 out of 10 performance. But I think that's his ceiling, though. I think that's with Fred, a 7 out of 10 or a 7.5 out of 10. That's it. Like you're not going to get more than that out of him, I don't think. And when he's bad, he's terrible.
He's like 2 out of 10, isn't he? He's like there's no doubt. Yeah, that's true.
I think the thing is though, the thing with Van der Beek as well is I don't think it's anything new, that kind of narrative surrounding, because Fergie had it with Kagawa. He's had it with other players where
Kagawa was a massive one, wasn't he? He was
people are just astounded when things are when the team looks a little bit imbalanced or the manager's having some issues trying to figure out a tactical way of playing with a certain group of players. There's always going to be some, people always seem to know better, and there's someone who's sat on the bench who provides the solution. And it happened with Kagawa. It's happened with Van der Beek. All he sees Van der Beek every day in training. I'm pretty sure that the reason he's not playing is down to that, and not
something must be there. But I mean, if we work through the team, how do you feel like Maguire and Lindelof played last night?
Well, I jinxed Lindelof at the match, didn't I?
You did. He got
the second half
off Zapata.
Yeah, exactly.
30 seconds later, Zapata spun him and almost scored. And I was like, stop complimenting.
I was saying, I think Lindelof's going to struggle against Zapata tonight, and then and then he's done all right actually. He's not doing too bad.
That's basically why Lindelof can't play in midfield. Like against physical players, he just gets run past. Like he's not a bad squad player. He's actually got quite a good long pass. He's actually a decent technical player, Lindelof. But up against any player with pace and speed, pace and power, he just struggles.
Yeah, I think
he really does.
I think he'd be a great centre back in La Liga, or
he really would, wouldn't he?
In a less physically demanding league, because his distribution is excellent. He's an intelligent defender, but
he's a cultured centre back, isn't he?
Exactly,
really, or whatever. He's a cultured centre back, but
I just think he's I just think in the Premier League, he gets spun off. Play like last night, he gets wrestled, and he gets
the thing is though, man,
targeted.
Players don't even need to beat him; they can literally run past him. It's almost like he's a youth player, because he's not like some amazing skill. He just gets, like, as you say, just gets barged off the ball. So it just requires, like, if like a Mikel Antonio played against him, he'd get killed. He'd just run past him. So you're right.
Another thing as well about playing Lindelof, that you only really get the advantage of seeing if you're at the games as well, is when Varane is on the right side of defence. Varane's always talking to Wan-Bissaka and shouting at him and pulling him back into position. Lindelof doesn't really do that in the same way. And Wan-Bissaka, especially this season, his positioning can be for someone who doesn't go forward very often. He leaves a lot of space behind. He's having a strange season, Wan-Bissaka.
You say that though, man. He had a strange game, because in the first half he was sort of like not really doing much, and then in the second half he kind of was attacking and stuff. It was a really strange performance from him, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. I think he got told to bomb forward at half time.
But like he was really good bombing forward. So like the question is he being told to not go forward? Does he not believe in his own ability? Because he basically has the pace and has the trickery to go forward. I'm not saying he's on like a Cafu level or a Trent Alexander-Arnold level, but like he can definitely get to the byline and put across it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it must be tactical. How do you think Shaw played?
I think Shaw was good. I think Shaw was the. I think he was the player moving forward and trying to make things happen a lot more than others. I think Shaw. There's a lot of emphasis has been put on Shaw attacking though this season. I think, especially because we don't really have anyone in midfield who's going to be feeding the front three. So I think
he drives with the ball. He's actually really good with the ball.
Yeah, and it's in the assist for Ronaldo as well. I remember there was a few seasons ago, maybe the season before last, when a big deal was made out of Shaw having like 1 assist a season or no assists and things, which for a fullback, he was getting compared to other fullbacks that have got, however many assists in a season. But last season and this season, he's really, he's a big part of the, of carrying the ball forward and feeding the attackers.
Do you feel like it took him like 18 months, 2 years to get over that injury, even though he was playing? Do you feel like it's a confidence thing in his body to actually drive his body forward?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. We spoke about this before, though. I remember before he picked up his form, we were constantly talking about how Pochettino had said that Shaw's got attitude issues when he was managing him at Southampton, and Van Gaal had said he had issues with his weight.
Atkins said it as well.
Yeah, Atkinson said it. I think
Jose famously said.
I think he might, as a youth player, I think he might have been one of those players that he's got an incredible amount of talent as a young player, and he just sort of didn't have the attitude right. And I think he's now got the attitude right, and he's pairing
because he has been fat and like literally he's come back pre-season fat, like overweight, and I think like the purchase of Tellez has had a big say in that, because basically Tellez came off the back of some amazing form, amazing stats, and Tellez is not as good a player as him defensively, nor is he as good as quick. But Tellez would have taken his spot if his form had stayed at that level. So it kind of like it was really a good signing, really, in that way.
Yeah, Tellez's crossing and stuff and his free kick taking and things like that was things that I thought, finally going to have someone who can cross the ball. Because when United got Tellez and Cavani, I thought that was it. Set pieces are taken care of now. Tellez and Cavani.
No, still shit. Even with a set piece coach, we're still like. I think in like '99 we used up all our good luck at set pieces. It was like the set piece god said, you can win the European Cup, and then for 50 years now, I actually don't remember us scoring from like set pieces. It's like I remember that, and then Paul Scholes against Bradford. That's the only, I remember thousands of goals, but I just don't remember us ever scoring from corners.
There was about 2 or 3 seasons. I remember. I think it was in Van Gaal's season or something, or maybe even Jose's first season. We were having a chat, and the last goal we could remember scoring from a corner was Vidic. So
I don't even remember which one.
It's shown how long ago it had been. But yeah, it's ridiculous. But the thing is, I haven't looked at the stats or anything, but I'm pretty sure we're just as bad at set pieces than we were last season, even though there's been this new addition of a set piece.
Well, we seem worse defending because we've conceded. Last night we conceded that second goal was a corner, and I'm sure we've conceded somewhere else. Didn't Leicester score from a set piece against us? I can't remember. I can't remember, but yeah, there's not really been an improvement, but like it's amazing because Maguire's last season at Leicester, I think he scored like 8 or 9 goals. It's like so his players, and you think like why don't they recreate that form at United?
Well, when Maguire came, that's what we were saying, weren't we? We were like goals from corners now, like
that's it.
Back to the days of mighty Chris Smalling scoring from corners.
Michael Smalling, yeah, exactly. But I thought that the defence actually left exposed a little bit. I feel like the narrative against the defence, because obviously, like the stat that we spoke about last night, 1 clean sheet in 20 games is like an unbelievable stat for a defence that's got £30 million left back, a £50 million right back, an £80 million centre back, and when Varane's there at £40 million, and Lindelof was 30 million. Like, this is not like one clean sheet in 20 is like relegation form. It's woeful. So I don't think it's the personnel. It's something in the team, because to be honest with you, Scholes, obviously, you've seen it on BT Sports, said that against a better team, United would have been 4-0 down at half time. And the highlights on TV don't show the amount of space that Atalanta had. Although they didn't create lots and lots of chances, they really were like a hot knife through butter. And they arrived at our penalty box with 2 or 3 very simple passes. They weren't intricate, and the spaces in the team, the defense isn't pushed up, and the forwards aren't pressing. So, I'm not defending Fred and McTominay or Lindelof, because obviously some of their performances have been subpar, but like, there is a lot of space, and being outnumbered, if you're a 2 and there's 3, then it's not very difficult for them to pass the ball around you,
Yeah.
So the first half, there was a lot of space in the centre of the park, and Atalanta, I mean, Zapata had that chance, and De Gea pulled off a double save. I mean, they easily could have drawn 3-3 with us there, no doubt about it.
I think that there is, like what you're saying, is the biggest problem that United have got, in the massive amounts of space that there are between play. Like, the two problems. The problem is Scott McTominay and Fred play really similarly, like to each other, and they always play quite close to each other and are in each other's positions. So they're too close to each other. But then other players on the pitch seem too far away from each other. Like Bruno plays way too far forward most of the time. So the amount of space... he plays like a striker.
Yeah,
I think what the game against Leicester, I think Bruno's average position was further forward than Ronaldo's.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So he plays way too far forward. And the problem is, as what happened with Leicester, when he goes so far forward, Pogba, who has a natural tendency to attack, moves into Bruno's space and leaves whoever he's paired with to deal with the mess. And if it's Matic, who's got no pace, Matic on the ball is good. Matic is a recovery defensive midfielder. It just takes half an hour to turn around. Like, it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And then the opposite is
we need Matic from 5 years ago, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
If you had Matic 5 or 6 years ago with that passing range, he was actually like almost world class.
Yeah.
And like, because he's big, people think he's just a big donkey, but he's actually a really technically gifted player, Matic, with a great left foot, great passing, clever, strong, playing tight spaces. But as you say, you've seen too many teams on the break, players just run past them.
Yeah, exactly. It happens all the time. It's often because Pogba's gone too far forward, but Pogba goes too far forward because Bruno's gone too far forward. We just get ripped apart on a counter. But then the other problem is, if you play McFred in that midfield, again, because Bruno goes too far forward, they don't have the passing range to
there's no penetration,
manipulate that space. Like they can't find the attackers properly because they don't have the passing range to do it. So you just end up with these massive gaps in the team that just got massively imbalanced all the time.
The problem is that that's not a coaching issue, and this is why the Ollie out nonsense is unfair. Like, that's a personnel issue.
Yeah.
Like, Fred, McTominay, and Matic, in their own right, are very, very, very good players, but you can't expect them to do something which they can't do. Ollie didn't buy any of those players, and United have got a strict 50, 60 million pound net spend. United needed a central midfielder this summer, probably 2, that could pass the ball. So that's a personnel issue. So if you get a new manager and give him the same players, can he finish above second? Ollie finished second last season. The answer is no, he can't. Yeah. Because, so like, as you talked about Fred's ceiling, like, you can't expect Matic to like be aggressive and close out and cover the fullbacks, because he's not got the legs. He can sit in a 6 position and spray the ball about, but he can't, like, someone like Declan Rice is obviously 90 million quid is like stupid to pay that type of money for him, but breaking up counter-attacks, he's really, really aggressive without the ball, and he's a type of player who'd nip attacks in the bud, and you wouldn't know how many goals that saves you in a season, because those players stop shots on goal. They stop stuff 40 yards from goal. So they're doing a lot of very like unimpressive things, but you only understand how valuable they are when they're injured or suspended. And actually, this season, who's the player of the season? It's probably De Gea. So when your goalkeeper's the player of the season, it tells you something. It means that you're shit. That you're being attacked against and getting shots in. People think Ederson's a great goalie. He's not. He just doesn't no one lands a glove on City.
Yeah.
And this is the difference. But in terms of the midfield, you're right. But it's a personnel issue. Like it's not Ollie, like coach Fred. Like you can't. That's his level. And you need to go in the transfer market, or you need Garner or someone from the youth team to come in who's world class, who plays at 6. But it's just a fact,
I think one thing that another type of manager might do is be really flexible, with the tactical way that you'd place. And even though in Ollie's caretaker period, we've played like 3 or 4 different formations. He did the 3 at the back. He was playing a 4-3-3. He did 4-2-3-1 with Pogba as a 10 for a few games, and he varied it up a little bit. And it all came back and bit him on the ass when all the players were injured and knackered as it was going towards the end. But I don't know at what point. Maybe it was just the season after that, but he's pretty much stuck to this 4-2-3-1 formation that he wants to play ever since. He's maybe changed it here and there a few times with 3 at the back, but I think you have a lot of European managers aren't completely married to one formation. I think other managers, you get a lot of European managers, they don't marry themselves to one, particular formation and tactical style. And I think one of the criticisms that a lot of people have of Ollie is how he doesn't, he hasn't, well, certainly for the last couple of seasons, he hasn't moved away from this 4-2-3-1 that he's playing. And whether it's got McFred as a 2, or, he'll play Fred and Matic sometimes, or McTominay and Pogba sometimes, but he never seems to move away from that sort of rigid way of playing. And I think that's probably a valid criticism. There's other managers who, Allegri for instance, who just changes tactical styles depending on the players that he's got at his disposal. So you could say that if that issue that exists in midfield, which causes massive gaps in the midfield, isn't fixable with the personnel that we've got, then maybe we shouldn't play that kind of, those kind of tactics or that kind of style.
But maybe specifically, what can he do though? Like how do you resolve this issue?
Well, I think every other tactical style would have to sacrifice other important players in the team. And I think that's the problem Ollie's got now, is because he's got a team full of superstars, and he deserves credit for building a team full of superstars.
Yeah.
But if he was to, like a lot of people are saying, because United haven't kept a clean sheet for 20 matches, or 1 in 20 matches, just go back to 3 at the back, play wing backs. If you do that, you can play McTominay and Pogba in the middle, because there's a third, centre back who can come forward and help out McTominay.
Okay. Pogba can roam a little bit.
Exactly, yeah. But if you did that, you'd have to sacrifice one of Sancho or Rashford. because you can't play.
Yeah, so like you're effectively playing that thing that Southgate played, but without two holding midfielders.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
you basically got four attackers.
Yeah.
Bruno would have to be one of them. Ronaldo would be another. So
yeah, if you played Ronaldo and two wide players in a 3-4-3, then you'd have to sacrifice Bruno, which United aren't going to do. Yeah. But if you played a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-2-1, which is, I think Sancho played in that formation at Dortmund a few times, and he was one of the attacking midfielders on the right hand side, or maybe the left, I can't remember. But if you do that, then you've got to sacrifice someone like Rashford, or if
teams are parking the bus and leaving one striker, you then got three people marking one striker, and then you're overloaded in other areas, aren't you? Because Shaw can be quite attacking, but Wan-Bissaka, is he really suited to that system? If maybe if we'd bought Trippier, then that system he would have played that system.
Yeah, I mean we spoke about this before, but I don't understand why he hasn't tried. You know the way that Pep was always able to play the system that he's got because he always had a fullback that would tuck in, and help. That would stay back or tuck into midfield so that his defensive midfielder wouldn't be isolated when the two attacking midfielders moved forward and created a front five.
Yeah.
Well, if Wan-Bissaka isn't a great attacking fullback, then he'd be perfect for that kind of role. But
form a three, let Shaw go and have Sancho. So
exactly,
he's kind of like a third centre back, and he's just tucking in. Yeah,
and it'd allow if you played a two with Pogba, it'd allow or a 4-3-3, and you'd have Pogba and Bruno. It'd allow them to go forward without leaving someone isolated behind them, because Wan-Bissaka would be tucking in, to provide cover. But I don't know. These are just, speculative tactical formations that United could play. But I just think Ollie's issue is United have a massive squad, and now there's way more than 11 players in that squad who are, who will kick up a fuss if they don't start. And I think
you could probably sell 4 of the forward players if you include the attacking midfielders in there, and you include Lingard, Donny, Martial, Alanga, Ahmad, Ronaldo, Rashford, Sancho, Cavani, Pogba, Bruno. There's about 12 players for
exactly.
positions. You could sell 4 players easily, and they probably need to. For me, I think United are making a grave error trying to build through the thirds, trying to actually play a short game, and they're trying to hold possession in the defence and hold possession. And I understand why they're trying to hold possession, because there's loads of stats that if you make 20, 30, 40 passes, the opposition, their concentration reduces, and then you find gaps. So I understand why possession is important. And actually, long term, you should be a possession-based team, because possession is one of the most important defensive tools you can have. If you have the ball, they can't score. However, I think this team needs to go long, not Wimbledon long, not flipping, but actually, in the second half, they went long. They played a more sophisticated version of a Sam Allardyce style of play, but with really good players. And I know it's not very palatable.
A more sophisticated version of Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, basically anything's more sophisticated than Sam Allardyce. But they played, so they basically, Lindelof especially, just hit Rashford, and you at least turn their defence, because when you're playing in front of a low block, or you're playing in front of a defence and you're 2-0 down, they don't mind. They're going to run the clock down. You're not landing a glove on them. And when you've not got fullbacks that are getting in behind, or you've not got Sancho starting, you need to turn their defence. And actually, Liverpool won a European Cup and a league by essentially playing long ball. They played long. I don't care what anyone says. Liverpool won the European Cup and amassed 98 points and 99 points by playing long ball. Since they bought Thiago, they've become a little bit more sophisticated. They had a very poor workman-like midfield. They won the European Cup with Henderson, Milner, and Wijnaldum in the centre of the park. They've upgraded that now. Fabinho's a better player, and Obviously, Thiago is like a really good player.
Yeah, everything came from the fullbacks, didn't it?
Yeah,
So
everything came. So, yeah, exactly. So they basically played long from Alexander-Arnold and from Van Dijk, and when they lost the ball, they just counter-pressed and they picked up, and then they counter-attacked. But they didn't build through the thirds. They didn't hold possession. And also, you can see from their games, they basically were like scoring 3 goals, 4 goals in like 10, 12, 15-minute periods because they would just flood forward. And effectively, they were playing 5 up front. Robertson and Alexander-Arnold were like 2, wide forwards. They had 5 up front. And United, they don't have the technical ability in the midfield to play like Man City and like Chelsea, who've got excellent midfield. Both Chelsea and Man City, their strongest position, they're midfield. They're stacked. Chelsea's second choice midfield and City's second choice midfield walks into our midfield. So you're trying to play through Maguire, through Fred, through McTominay. It doesn't work. And then when you put Pogba back in the 8th position on the ball, he's fine. However, he can't tackle. He doesn't run back. He's not defensively good enough. And he gets caught on the ball a lot. And that's not a criticism of Pogba. That's not his game. So what you need to do is you need to get Cavani in that team somewhere, and you need to get someone like Lingard, and you need to go long. And when you've lost the ball after you've gone long, you need to recycle possession again by pushing up. And it's not a pretty style, but it works, especially if you've got Rashford and Sancho somewhere in the team, and you go long and you make their defence run, you stretch the game. But at the moment, playing in front of their back 4 or back 5 or back 6, especially when they've got 2 holding midfield players, it's easy to defend against. So it's not a pretty style, but with this team, you've got to play like a game that's focused on what you're going to do without the ball, of pressing and going long. Maguire's got a good right foot. Varane can play those passes. So can Shaw. And that's how we need to get up the field. There was a stat against West Ham. The forward players only touched the ball 10% of the time. It means that 90% of the time were the 5 areas: West Ham's defence, midfield, attack, and our midfield or defence. So our strongest area, attack, is only getting the ball 10% of the time. You need to go long. And I think that, like, tactically, like, they need to make that adjustment because the personnel in the midfield cannot build through the thirds. Look at Fred last night. We both said it. He literally gets the ball and he passes it sideways 10 yards. And I understand that because it's better than giving the ball away. But he's basically passing responsibility onto the fullback, onto McTominay, onto Bruno, whatever, to do something. He cannot, from a number 6 position, bring United up the field. So that, to me, is the easy solution.
Yeah, there's a stat about Fred. A lot of people that are fans of Fred use the stat about how Fred's passing stats are actually really good. But
yeah, I've seen it.
His passing stats in terms of his pass completion and the amount of completed passes and things that he makes, they're actually really good. But that takes the context of the type of passes that he's making completely out of it. Exactly. And that's the problem. Like, the type of passes that Fred makes are usually, to back to McTominay or back to Wan-Bissaka, or you might make a pass forward to Bruno, and then, Bruno and someone else will create something. But the important passes that, that lead to chances, or Fred's passes aren't in there. Like, it's always passing around the midfield. But I think
it's just not his game, though. Like, it's not.
It's definitely not his game. You can't expect him. I think when he plays for Brazil, he plays further up. I think he plays like a more aggressive 8 box-to-box type player when he plays for Brazil. Whereas he's quite static when he plays for United because
he plays there. He plays there because his legs. He's a runner. He plays there because when you play with Neymar out of possession, you're down to 10 men immediately. He's basically like a tactical solution for players that are lazy. But United are playing him deep. He's not. He can't. So I don't know. I mean,
yes, like last night when Pogba came on, we were quite surprised that he took McTominay off. But it did change the game a lot because I think, as I was saying earlier, that massive amount of space between McTominay and Fred and Bruno, who goes forward all the time, and that there wasn't really anyone to make those passes, you know, to link the play between midfield and the attackers. Whereas Pogba, that is Pogba's game. That's what he's all about. So, within a minute of him coming on, he made some, you know,
cross-field pass, didn't he,
right across the shore. I think it was, incredible, and that immediately got the crowd up. But I also think that was a lot of the impact that Pogba had when he did that was because it was a little bit later in the game, and United had so many chances that they'd run Atalanta ragged a little bit for a while, and they were tired. So when Pogba comes on and makes those passes, and you've got runners up front, and you've got later on in the game, you've got people like Cavani who are dragging players out of position all the time. I think a player like Pogba makes a massive impact in that. If Pogba had started the game, I don't think that he would have had that kind of impact. I think Atalanta would have been a little bit, you know, they'd have more energy. They'd be able to press him more. They'd be more aggressive. And I think that if that was the case, it'd be another one of those type of sluggish performances that we saw against Leicester. And I think that's another one of those midfield issues that, but the weird thing about it is, despite all this imbalance that we're talking about, it's the same thing that I was saying before about, if you watch the highlights of United, it looks like United were just absolutely just peppering shots at Atalanta, and then they just got lucky in the second half because the shots, you know, they managed to finish a few of them. United had like 22 shots or something last night. Crazy stat. If you watch the game, you think, oh, you know, does that paper over the cracks? You know, is it? But if you watch the highlights, it looks like it was an amazing game for United. In the same way that we were watching the match, getting frustrated with Bruno, thinking, you know, he was being a bit wasteful. He was waving his arms in the air and complaining about other players. But Bruno created more chances last night. I think it was 9 chances. He created 9 chances last night, which is more than any other player in the Champions League this season. Even though it didn't, and he got man of the match as well. Even though I didn't think, apart from he made 2 assists, but
he actually set up 2 goals.
Overall, it seemed like, you know, a bit of a frustrating performance with little bits like that he can bring into it. Weirdly as well, that I was reading about that stat. The most chances created by a player in the Premier League this season is Bruno, with 10 against Villa, which we lost. He
takes risk though, doesn't he? I feel like the big issue is that United are never in control of a game because they can't hold possession. Like, if you watch City and it's a tight game, they're able to kill the game with possession. United look like they can get counter-attacked against. And actually, even when Pogba came on with the ball, it was amazing. But against a better team, that's why you can't play him as a 2 against a better team, because he just gets broken against. He just gets ran past. And I feel like if you could somehow, in a test tube, take Pogba's technical ability on the ball, put it into Fred, and then have McTominay's height, you'd have a perfect midfielder. But none of them do everything that you need. There's definitely a tactical issue, but it feels like a team could score against us at any moment. It also feels like we could score against them. So that level of a team that can get to 1 or 2 goals up and just kill the team. It's like if City get 2-0 up against most teams, it's over. You know it. You know that they're either going to get a third or they're just going to pass and they're going to kill a game. Whereas United feel like they could be 2-0 up, 3-0 up, and then the opposition could score some quick goals. And that's like a lack of game management. And there is a certain naivety in the team. Case in point, Everton, basically any team, any midfielder with any sense would stop Everton's goal. They would have done a tactical foul, taken a yellow card, regroup. That Fred got pushed off the ball after Mari Gray or whoever it was.
It was great, and then Decore as well.
Yeah, Decore as well. But you would have just taken him out. I'm not saying it's pretty, but City do it all the time. Atalanta were doing tactical fouls. Once United started to get a foothold in the game, they fouled persistently. Now, those fouls are clever fouls. They're streetwise fouls. United's midfield doesn't seem streetwise to me. It seems naive. And it seems like against a streetwise midfield, they'll get overrun. And that is a personnel issue. It's not a coaching issue. You need to buy in the centre of the park 1 or 2 midfielders who can go toe to toe with the best midfielders in Europe and retain the ball. Because for me, Pogba can't play as an 8. You know, it's not a question of his technique. He just can't play as an 8. And
I think that there needs to be a setup for Pogba to work in, but I don't know how you would do that. If you look at United's team now and you look at the way that you would think United have to play now to get through the next run of fixtures and get results out of it, I don't know where you would put Pogba in that 11. I think.
Well, you need to drop
last night showed what Pogba is good at, coming on as an impact sub and make, like, he's done it before. There's been games where Pogba comes on 70 minutes. You know,
he kind of quarterbacks the team forward, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He can play 60, 70 yard passes. Even Bruno can't play like that.
Yeah, so he's the only one. By far the best passer in the team. Like one of the best passes in the world, Pogba. There's no doubt in that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know where he fits. If United are to have a structure that works, and because they're going to have to get some results now, you know, Liverpool and Tottenham and City. If Ollie even wants to get to January, still in the job, he needs to get results in the next. He needs to keep up with the leaders in the Premier League. Yeah. And I think of all the different ways,
the Glazers will sack you if you're not getting top 4. Sack immediately. Like the Glazers need that Champions League.
Yeah. Well, Van Gaal won an FA Cup, got fired. Jose finished second, and then I can't remember where he was in the league, but they sacked him at Christmas.
I think we were 10th or something when in that Liverpool game. We were quite low down. So
when it looks virtually impossible, you're not keeping your job. I think we'd been knocked out of the Champions League. Oh no, we drawn PSG. That was it.
And then Ollie won the
Yeah. But I think I don't see where, even though I do think Pogba is easily one of the best players at the club. Generally, I'm not sure where, because team balance is the most important. You know, of all the other teams that United are in competition with, they all have a structure and a that their players work well together. There's a balance within the team. United seem to lack that. And of all the ways that you could consider fixing it, I'm not sure where Pogba fits in it. I think other than an impact sub like he is now.
Do you know what I was saying? I don't think it was to you, to someone else. I was saying that in a way, those front 5 positions, in a way, it might help Ollie if you get 2 or 3 injuries and he's forced into. So, let's say Bruno, let's say Pogba gets injured, and let's say sort of Van der Beek gets injured and Martial gets injured. It would sort of help him a little bit to kind of decide on a team, because I don't think this rotation is going to work. And actually, I agree with you. Pogba's got the tools to do a lot of stuff, but really and honestly, the structure, you'll have to get rid of Bruno. His stats mean that he has to play. Bruno gives the ball away, but he creates chances. He's guaranteed a goal involvement. He's guaranteed and to play in the Premier League or to play in an elite league and have a goal involvement a game. There's not many players in world football. So in a way, Pogba leaving could be a good thing. Obviously, on a business level, you pay 89 million for someone and he leaves on a free. It's not very good business. But I don't know how you play Pogba, Bruno, Rashford, Sancho. I don't know how you do that.
Even when he got put on the left, when Rashford was injured and Pogba got put on the left,
that doesn't work either.
It worked a bit for a couple of games because a game might have required it, or it meant that the games that it worked in, United are playing against teams that generally play quite a low block. So having Pogba on the left, creating, and Bruno in the team can help. But that only really came around, I think, because Rashford was carrying that back injury at the time.
Yeah.
And,
but like Bruno is playing as a striker effectively. So Pogba's he's starting positions on the left, but effectively he's playing as a 10. He's coming to the right sometimes. So he's only on the left in a defensive sort of formation or whatever. But I feel like
I think he played on the left of midfield quite well when he was at Juve, but that was a completely different tactical form. I think they played a 4-4-2 diamond, and they had he was playing on the left of the midfield diamond, but he was drifting wide, almost into a wide left position. But they didn't have a left winger.
He wasn't really defending, was he? He was kind of like I don't know.
They had Pirlo and Vidal.
Vidal was the runner, Pirlo, and they had Marquisio.
Yeah, they had Marquisio in the team as well. Yeah,
Marquisio, and then they had like a target man. Mandzukic was there, I think. So they were kind of like this strong defense, and players like Pogba were left to roam. And actually, whether people admit it, there are more easier games in Italy and in Spain than in England. So like your highlights reel as a player in Italy is bumped up when you play against the bloody Empoli, and you know what I mean. So like,
well, if you look at the Premier League teams that are in the Europa League and in the Europa Conference League, and you compare
they're just smashing the teams, aren't they?
You compare them to, other Western European countries whose teams, like the type of teams that come from those countries that are in the European Conference League, even the Italian teams and Spanish teams, they're not teams that are ever expected to get into the Champions League, whereas the teams that are in the Europa League and the Europa Conference League from England are teams that often compete to get in the top four.
Well, where would Leicester finish, in France or in Italy?
Yeah.
You'd probably finish second. They might finish third. They might win it. Like
Leicester aren't a top four team in England, but they've got players like Tielemans and James Maddison and like Ndidi, like players that are like top players.
Schmeichel,
like top players, and they're not even a top four team. Yeah. So the competition is completely different.
Even Everton, like player for player, Everton have spent 500 million quid. Benitez is a really good coach. If he went to Italy, I bet you we could win Serie A with Everton's squad now. I bet you. Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Decore, and Allen. That's a decent team. They've got Allen. I mean, think about their defense. It's up there.
Yeah, they're a good team. I'm not just saying that because United couldn't beat them.
Yeah, no, they are. They're like a typical Benitez, difficult team to play against. But I feel like if Pogba left, it wouldn't really bother me at all. And if Lingard left and Van der Beek left and Martial left, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah,
I'd be fine with it. If Avlanga and Ahmad came in to fill up the squad, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah,
I feel like it's just so imbalanced, and there's just too many players, and you're not going to be able to keep those players.
I think Van der Beek predominantly came in because the expectation was that Pogba would leave.
Yeah,
in the summer, just gone.
Yeah, there can't be any other reason, can there? Really?
No, and I think that kind of player that can play as an attacking midfielder but offers a little bit more defensively is what I think Van der Beek was brought in for. But unfortunately for him, he's got to compete for a place in the team with Pogba
and Bruno and Lingard.
Yeah.
And he's behind all of them.
It's not happening for him, unfortunately. But if United sold Van der Beek in January, or they sent him out on loan, someone covered his wages so that United could afford to bring in a defensive midfielder, I'd be all right with that. I like Van der Beek. He seems like, I've seen him in interviews and things. He seems like a good guy and he just wants to knuckle down. But Solskjaer sees him in training every day and he's not picking him. So,
thing is, though, also you've got to say how good is the Dutch league?
Yeah.
What level is the Dutch? Is it the Championship? Is it like the bottom half of the Premier League? So if you're judging players from those leagues, okay, they've done well in Europe.
But it's not just Van der Beek from that Ajax team. It's Ziyech hasn't been great either in the Premier League.
Style. You know what, right? All those players, right? I've thought this for a while. All those players through the Ajax youth team have been there since they were 7 and 8 years of age.
Yeah.
They've never played another formation than 4-3-3. They haven't played a different style than the Johan Cruyff style. And who's been the most successful out of all of them? It's De Jong. What style of play do Barcelona play?
Yeah.
They play Johan Cruyff's style. They play the 4-3-3, and he plays. Who struggled? De Ligt has struggled, and he was the highest rated. Ziyech has struggled. Van der Beek has struggled, and I think that it's clubs need this. This is the nuance of scouting, right? And this is the nuance of having technical people, because you could take to give a really stupid example, you could take Bernardo Silva and put him in Burnley's team, and I assure you, he's not going to be able to do anything because they don't play through midfield, right? And you could take Chris Wood and put him in City's team, and they don't play any high balls, so he's not going to do anything. So like Ajax's style is so pronounced. There's probably very few elite clubs now. I know that RB Leipzig play quite similar to that. Barcelona obviously do. You can probably say that Bayern Munich play a relatively similar style with two wide men and one striker, but really United don't play like that. Chelsea don't really play like that, and that's I don't know what's going to happen with Van der Beek. I would try and sell him. I'd try and, if you can get that money back, sell him.
I don't think he's going to stay after January if he doesn't play. I don't think he's going to waste 2 seasons. I think he's going to cut his losses after a season and a half. Well, he's not getting picked for the Dutch team either. And Van Gaal said if he wants to play, he has to play at club level. So,
if he left and Pogba left and Jesse signed a new deal and Bruno was first choice, Lingard as backup, and Lingard accepts that, I think that is a good option. And then if you then strengthen the 6 and the 8, I'd be fine with that.
But then you're a Bruno injury away from the team of 2 years ago with Jesse as a 10 and Fred and McTominay in midfield.
But that's it. If you upgraded the 6 and the 8, I feel like when you've got players like Lingard, right? If you had Lingard in a top elite team, he's fine. But it's when you put him in a team with Pereira and Fred, that's the issue. So like United won European Cups with I don't know who was in the 99 team that I could give an example of, like David May. He played in the final. They had I think Ronnie Wallwork got a European Cup winners medal, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure he was in there. They had Jesper Blomqvist. Yeah. Squad players, he played in the final, I think. And then, but around, so it's kind of like the players, like Jesse Lingard is a top player, but he's just not elite. But you can't have 25 elite players. Not only would those elite players not accept playing, you also can't do it. So a Lingard as a backup is completely fine if you have like Tuchemani, and if you have Declan Rice and you have a De Jong, if you get him out of Barcelona, you have Declan Rice, De Jong and Jesse. That's top draw. It's just, as you say, the weaker spot. So I don't think he's a problem. Players like him, even Lindelof, right? We've criticised Lindelof loads, but if Lindelof is 3rd or 4th choice at United and he comes in for the odd game, or he comes in for tactical games where you're playing like against technical forwards, or you wanted to play 3 at the back, he's completely fine. But he's not fine to play 50 games a season for United. So I think that you need to upgrade the first team and then allow the previous first team players to drop down as squad players, and it's all right. It's all right.
When we played against Villarreal, and he brought on Jesse and Cavani, I think, towards the end of the game, and the first thing we said was he must be, ordering the team to press now, going into like really press and fight for the ball now in the last 10 minutes, and it paid off for that Ronaldo goal because it was Jesse that played his part in it. And if you watch some of the footage of Cavani, there's a clip where someone plays the ball to Ronaldo. Ronaldo just sort of waves his arms in the air. He's like, the ball's played too far ahead, and you just see Cavani just run
like
in
road
out of shot and keep it in from going out for a goal kick.
Yeah,
that type of work rate is like, how do you get Cavani and Ronaldo into the team? Because personally, I think Cavani has to play, but I also think Rashford has to play, and obviously Ronaldo has to play.
Yeah.
So that's another conundrum further up the pitch.
You know what, right? I don't think it's as big a problem as we think, because when you've got good quality players that are different, it's much more helpful for a coach. Because if you've got players that are the same, you can't change it up. But like a Bruno and a Lingard, a Cavani and a Ronaldo, a Greenwood and a Sancho, they're actually all quite different players.
Yeah.
So on a it's actually useful to have different players tactically. It's not useful to have all the same type of players. So on that level, it means that you can rotate the squad for different matches. So actually, if you look at Ollie's first 2 years in charge, most of the big wins away against City, Lingard's played, because we've played on the break, used his work rate, and he's been able to, out of possession, man mark a number 6 and do like a kind of a rutting job on some number 6 and then break. And so therefore, like, he's a useful tool for 15, 20 games a season for you to find an answer to a tactical conundrum. So I'm not a person, and nor are you, that thinks that we need to sell like every single player. It's just you need to upgrade the first team, because United's big problem is holding possession and also breaking down a low block. So if you were to like look at how you could resolve that now, you need to buy some deep lying playmakers who can actually pass the ball. If you advance the ball through the thirds, United go up a level. There's no doubt about it. So I feel like it's close, but yet it's far. And it's just one of those things, like people say, oh, sell this, sell that. But United haven't got bad players. Jesse Lingard's a top-class player. He's just not as good as Bruno. But then again, there's probably like 3 players in the world who are as good as Bruno. You'd probably only swap him with De Bruyne maybe. In the Premier League, De Bruyne is probably the only one. Bruno and De Bruyne are on that level, and you could say maybe Grealish last season at Aston Villa on a stat basis. But after them, they're up there. Maybe Bernardo Silva, I don't know. But Liverpool haven't got any attacking midfielder you'd swap with Bruno. No chance. No one gets near him. Chelsea, I mean, would you swap him for Mount? I wouldn't. No. So
maybe don't jinx it. Like someone from Liverpool now on Sunday. Attacking midfielder is going to have an incredible game on Sunday.
Jordan Henderson overhead kick from 50 yards out. Rabona. But anyway, man, let's wrap up the podcast with our thoughts on what's going to happen on Sunday against Liverpool. What do you think is going to happen on Sunday?
Well, I personally think it'll be a draw, to be honest. I think it's always a draw when United play Liverpool, apart from when
definitely not a 0-0 with United's defence.
No, I think it'll be 2-2. I think it'll be 2-2. I'm not optimistic enough to think that United are going to win, but I am also quite confident that Ollie knows how to play. Ollie knows how to be reactive. You know what I mean? He knows how to get results against direct rivals. Like he always seems to do well against.
His record's quite good, isn't it?
Liverpool, Chelsea, City. I'm not confident enough, because Liverpool are the form team at the minute in the Premier League, especially performance-wise. Like, Chelsea are top of the league, but some of Chelsea's wins have been, they've ground out results. Like Chelsea were hanging on against Brentford, and that Brentford were really looking to equalise for 15 minutes, the last 15 minutes of the game, whereas Liverpool seem to be confidently just controlling games, and Salah looks the informed player in the league. I just think, with that in mind, I'm not optimistic enough to think that United are going to win, but I'm also quite confident that Ollie's going to stop Liverpool from coming to Old Trafford and winning as well. But I don't know, it depends. I saw Paul Scholes talking on BT Sport, the most negative pundit about United in the world for such an incredible.
Such a great player be such a bad pundit?
Yeah, he's like for such an incredible player that was like one of the most gifted midfielders of his generation, who never spoke and never gave interviews. He's now one of the worst pundits on TV who never shuts up. Like, I don't get what's happened, but I saw him on TV saying about last night, he was like, try that against Liverpool and see what happens. But like United are obviously not going to play like that, the same against Liverpool as they did against Atalanta. Like, it's not going to happen. So I don't know. Hopefully, that can. I'm sick of saying this now. United, like against Villarreal, it was like, is this the turning point? But
probably not.
Let's see. We'll probably get another flat first half, and then United will come back and equalise. I'm guessing.
I feel like the only way to beat Liverpool or to like damage them is to like get down that left flank. If Rashford and Shaw can get on Alexander-Arnold, it'll pin him back. And actually, I'd play Sancho and play Ronaldo and try and push their fullbacks the other way. I feel like that takes a lot out of their game.
I mean, I haven't seen the news about Rashford, but apparently Rashford got a dead leg or something.
Right. So he should be okay. Really.
He went off. But Rashford's got to play against Liverpool if he's fit.
Alexander-Arnold is actually a terrible defender. He's
against Rashford.
Absolutely shocking.
Rashford's the kind of player. Rashford's the kind of player that is quite good at pulling the pants down of defenders who are quite susceptible to runners going in behind them. So I think he's been doing that to Trent since he was like 18, 19 when United beat Liverpool 2-0. And I just think if that happens and Rashford, but I think Klopp knows as well. Maybe Klopp won't play Trent. I don't know.
He'll play him like he always plays him, so he won't drop him because he gives some the other way. But I feel like that's where we can win the game. And I also think that he'll play Fred and McTominay. There's no doubt about
he'll definitely play Fred and McTominay. I think Bruno needs to play a bit deeper. I think that's like if Bruno plays slightly deeper, I'll be happy because it's such a strange thing with that attack. Because we were saying it yesterday. There's so many gaps in the box, when attacks were happening, no one seemed to be there. Yeah. Like when you play Cavani, he will be there. And I know Ronaldo's a number 9 now, and part of his game is being there all the time, so, put in rebounds and get his head on the end of crosses and things like that. But there's points in games where he isn't there at times when you think Cavani would be. Like he might have moved away from being, a more complete forward into a general and number 9 who's a 6-yard box number 9, but I still don't think he's as good positionally as Cavani as a number 9. I don't think, but I don't know.
No, Cavani's like Cavani aerially as well. Ronaldo's good in the air, but like Cavani's got the movement and in the nous. I think that he's just trying to find a solution for those two. But what score do you think it'll be? You think 2-2?
I think 2-2. Yeah. What do you think?
I think United will lose. To be honest, I think that
you said that. Yes, you said that about yesterday as well.
Yeah. I think that we've been to three home games now, haven't we?
Yeah.
Right. Newcastle caused us a problem. Right, Newcastle's running power, St. Maximum, if they could have finished, they would have done something against us. Leeds broke the lines, and United have got too much space in the centre of the park. If they are compact, then they'll lose something in an attacking way. The only way that United can win the match is if Liverpool give like a 6 out of 10 performance and United take all their chances and then they miss chances. But the performances I've seen from United, I mean, like the West Ham game, we were so lucky. Like if you watch that game back, we rode our luck. And Leicester are not on the level of Liverpool. Leicester passed through us. They just simply passed through to Madison.
I think there was a stat we were talking about the other day. I might get it wrong, but I think the stat was United have only won 2 in 7. I think it was. or 2 in
Yeah,
2 in 6 or 2
7.
in 7.
It was quite a lot.
And those 2 games were West Ham and Villarreal. So one was down to Ronaldo goal in the last minute, and the other one was down to De Gea saving a penalty in the last minute.
Yeah.
So
and a Lingard last minute.
Yeah, exactly. So
none
without
of the
those
games.
2 things happening, United wouldn't have won in 7, which is a shocking
exactly.
run of form.
Yeah, it's a shocker. But of those games, we've not controlled any of their matches. So you're basically up against the Liverpool team. I think United will play quite negatively. They'll try to hold possession in the back line, and they'll try and jab and get a goal or get a set piece, and they'll play a very Mourinho-esque performance. And actually, it makes sense, because if you go toe-to-toe with them and leave massive spaces, you've got people like Keita, who's not done well at Liverpool, but he can run with the ball. You've got like Salah, you've got Mane's running power. So for me, it makes sense to try and be compact and try and hit them on the break and let them have the ball, have a low block and hit them on the break. And you'll have to ride your luck. You really well, you really will. But if they play at their maximum, they will beat us.
What's your?
I don't know. United have been unpredictable this season, so it's hard to say, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit then.
Yeah, you too. So, right. Okay, so
what's your formation tomorrow?
Formation for Sunday.
Sunday, sorry.
Probably. So for me, Varane's not fit. He's not back, is he? So no. Lindelof will be okay because they're not physical. So Maguire and Lindelof at the back. Wan-Bissaka, sure. I'm sorry, mate. I'm probably playing Fred and McTominay in there to provide some stability. So I'd probably play that block of 6 and tell the fullbacks to really tuck in and not really attack. Maybe let Shaw go, but I don't want to be counter pressed. I don't want 3 against 3 Salah running at the back 4. I don't want that. So I'll have those 2 in there. You know what? I don't think you can drop Bruno, but if on a tactical basis, the best team to play would be Lingard in front of Fred and McTominay, to play Rashford on the left, to play Sancho on the right, and to play Cavani up top. That team is a workman.
High press.
Yeah, high press team, workman-like team, and then play long to Cavani. I know it sounds a bit crude. Play long and then get Jesse, Cavani counter-pressing them. Play them at their own game, but I think he'll do the opposite. He'll play a low block. He'll have McTominay and Fred in front. They'll be really conservative in the first half, and they'll try and be compact. And actually, I completely understand that. I think he'll play Bruno. He'll play Ronaldo. I think Rashford will be on the left, and I don't know if he'll put Pogba in there somewhere and kind of have Pogba roaming around sort of thing. So, kind of Pogba starting position, So, but I'd personally play Sancho myself, but that's just me.
I'd bring Pogba off the bench later on, I think, depending on how the game's going. Yeah. But yeah, the keeper in the back 4 and then McFred is all pretty much pick themselves. Yeah, and I'd probably play Bruno, Rashford, Ronaldo and Sancho, I think. Probably what my lineup would be, but I don't know. I would rest Greenwood. I wouldn't start Greenwood.
You're just breaking up, but
I think Greenwood's been a bit wasteful last couple of games. Even though he scored that goal against Leicester, incredible goal, he was a bit greedy as well in that game, and he was a bit greedy yesterday as well. So I'll probably put Greenwood on the bench, Cavani on the bench, and I'll play Sancho.
Yeah, I mean, Sancho stretches defenses, right? So it depends what you want to do. Sancho's a different tool. Depends. Tactically, you need to have a coherent plan. Ollie has played the McFred low block quite effectively and played on the break. And I think you're at home, but I think he'll do that.
Also, you need to start Rashford on the left and Sancho on the right and cement that as a an important part of the team going forward, because that's what Sancho was bought for, essentially. He was bought to fill that right wing position that United have lacked for years. So play him there and play Rashford on the left. And then, change it up mid-game. Cavani, Pogba, whoever, Greenwood.
Yeah. Well, it's different. Like, that's a positive thing. You've got different types of players. But for me, you can't be open against Liverpool. And the only thing is, United are playing at home and the crowd won't like that. So they will have to come out. But I don't think Liverpool can play any other way. So you like let them come on to you, and then you try and smash them on the break. And you just need to take your chances. But I don't think like Liverpool are like invincible.
Let them come on to you and then smash them.
Smash them, yeah. It's a poor choice of words, really.
What you should do is let them come on to you and then smash them.
Smash it. I sound like Richard Keys. Yeah. You smash it. You smash it. Like, horrible 1980s scumbag.
Oh,
Redknapp was hanging out the back of that every day of the week. Like, horrible. But okay, man. Shall we wrap the podcast up there? So
do you want to give a little goodbye message? Thanks for joining us and all that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot for joining us on the podcast. Apologies if there's any technical issues. We appreciate you watching the podcast in full. Please share the podcast. Please subscribe and please like to help us move up the algorithm, because we are all at the behest of the YouTube, Google algorithm. So thanks a lot. And thanks for supporting the channel. Wish you a great day. Thanks a lot. Cheers, Ryan, as well, for your brilliant contribution.
Thanks a lot.
It's been really brilliant chatting. Thanks, man. All right, take care. Thanks.